I love that intro. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CRM Zen Show. This is episode 272. Threshold me closer, tiny dancer. This is recorded on Friday, October 13th, 2023. From Zenatta Consulting, I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and Tiny Dancer will officially be stuck in my head for the next 3 weeks. So thank you, Greg, for picking that show title. And thank you, Brett, for that beautiful rendition. Almost brought a tear to my eye.
I just want to lay me down in sheets of linen, plenty. Lay me down in sheets of, don't have the lyrics right hand, but I'm going to have a lazy day today, something like that. That's the thing. It will be stuck in my head all day, and I will be singing totally incorrect lyrics throughout
every
the
time. Every time.
Yes, exactly. All right, we've got a really big show. It was a huge week in news. As a matter of fact, if you're going to watch this show, but you're going to want to read the newsletter because we had to leave out like 10 stories because there's just way too much news this week. And with that, let's get on over to announcements and events. All right, Tyler, as always, if you head over to Club Zenatta, that's club.zenatta.com. That's our online community where you can participate in general discussion and all sorts of things. Pretty exciting news, by the way, over at Club Z before I get into events, Tyler. But today, over at Club Zenatta, an angel got his wings. We hit 1,000 members. Da-da-da-da.
It's a beautiful thing. I'm expecting a little angel to come up.
I'm waiting.
I don't have the angel in this scene. What the heck? Well, you
only have it over in YouTube?
I have it in the Club Zenatta scene, and I have it in the in the code share scene, and then I have it in the tip scene. Dang it!
You want me to?
I can bring the assets over, and we could actually start this segment again if you want to give me a second.
No, I think it's kind of funny. You should probably just leave all this in the show.
Really? Okay. Right.
So anyway, Freddie doesn't have an angel prepared. Gosh darn it. All right, let's move on. I'm envisioning a little angel floating across the screen,
It'll come
but
in
as
later.
You heard,
it's
coming later. Coming later. Everybody wait for it. It's the big angel moment, okay? Anyway, we hit 1,000 subscribers. I'm really happy about that. I want to thank everybody for all your support. And anyway, what we've got coming up here is we've got a Zoho Books full product overview, and that is going to be launching on Tuesday, October 17th at 10 a.m. I'm going to be doing that with John Oda, and it is going to be awesome. I just have a feeling. I have a feeling it's going to be long and detailed, and there's going to be so much to it. It's going to be juicy, and a lot of stuff has happened in Zoho Books. I mean, they've had all kinds of banking integration changes. They completely revamped the settings page, which is crazy. All kinds of things. Lots of internal
The nice
changes.
thing is too, when you and I have done it in the past, neither of us are accountants by trade. So there are certain sections of books that we did not cover in as much detail as ideally we would, because we don't want to give bad advice when it comes to accounting. So John, being an accountant by trade, was able to share some, will be able to share some extra light on some of those sections.
Absolutely. And over in the world of Zoho, they are continuing with all sorts of fantastic things. So they, coming up now, you've got your tips on collaboration, Zoho Writer. I mean, that's a busy October. I'm not going to read these out loud, but Zoho has really, really ramped up the in-person events as well as the virtual events. And so give it a shot. And they're kind of bopping around with the Zoho Finance Workshop in New York. And I am just, I'm kind of crushing that one because I predicted I'm 50% the weather is going to be bad. And right now, if they were to flip it, it's going on in LA. If they had flipped it, the weather in New York was beautiful right now. And LA is, of course, is always perfect, and it'll be perfect in a month. So we'll see how that goes as we get through there. But anyway, good job, Zoho. And there's all kinds of great stuff coming up. So with that, I guess I can talk a little bit before I leave here. I want to talk a little bit about Club Z. We did hit 1,000 members. This is the place to come where, you can ask your questions and get your answers. to any questions you may have around Zoho. Our community is extremely active and is participating and answering questions and jumping on in. And if you can't get an answer there, well, guess what? You can head over to Q&A for Azaz and you can give us a question. And if it makes the cut, it will be on Azaz. And if not, we're just going to go ahead and answer it for you. Okay. So anyway, there you go. So please head over to club.zenatta.com. All we ask for is your email. And with that, Tyler, let's get right on into the news. All right, buddy. Well, the title of our show comes from in CRM now. You can now set workload limits with assignment thresholds. So basically, you're limiting the amount of leads a person could be assigned.
Essentially, so assignment rules are, within Zoho, there's so many different ways to make an if-then statement. But an assignment rule is a specific kind of subset of workflow that you can define and say when leads are created of this type, assign them to this person or round robin them amongst these people. But what this is basically doing is saying you can now add parameters to the assignment rule to say, you know what? Brett can take 50 leads at a time, but Tyler's new, so he should only be taking up to 20 at a time, which would then affect your round robining and affect some of those assignments, especially in cases where more than one user might be applicable for a certain lead. So it's kind of nice. I mean, as long as people are working leads through, right? If people aren't working them, I would imagine you hit a point where everyone's at the cap. But if people are consistently actually moving them through the pipeline, I could actually see a lot of use case for this.
Yeah. Very good. I'm surprised. I mean, we were joking about it earlier, but it seems like you might want to have a threshold minimum, right? That a person gets a minimum number of leads or has to complete a minimum number of leads. But anyway, it's pretty interesting. Very, very cool. This is so oddly specific. I just got to think it was a request from a client. It's just kind of interesting that way. All right. And moving right along. Zoho billing updates for October 2023. You now have recurring payments for Stripe integration in India, which is a big one, something we've had over in the US data center for quite a while. You can now enable single sign-on directly from references. So if you're not using single sign-on in books, this is kind of that's
a big one, honestly. A lot of companies only use single sign-on.
Right.
Their IT department will only permission things that are available for single sign-on. So these little things, they don't seem like that big of a deal sometimes, but that actually opens this app to a whole group of customers that might have taken it off the list because it didn't have that.
Yeah. And then branch support for hosted payments, just kind of some small little additions to this as well. Nothing really all that major as I kind of went through here. You can import customers with duplicate names, which is
you can now.
Yeah. So kind of interesting. And if you don't know, Zoho Billing is Zoho Subscriptions. It just changed its name. So it's anyway, some small little changes that we're seeing to Zoho Billing, but nothing real major here. What a redirection of URL after adding updating payment methods, quasi useful. So anyway, doing a lot with Zoho Billing. It's I expect to see a lot more features happening to this and a lot more bug fixes and minor little tweaks because they've kind of rethought and re-architected this entire product. So we will see where it goes. And moving right along, now this is really cool. Talk about this before the show. You now have an inbox inside Zoho Social, Tyler. You can.
It's actually nice. I mean, if you do use your social to engage in messaging with your prospects, the way it used to work, if I'm correct, and let me know if I'm wrong on it, is you essentially had an inbox for Facebook, an inbox for Instagram, an inbox for X, formerly known as Twitter. Every different app had its own inbox where now you can essentially point all of those to one place, right? And respond to them uniformly from within that. Now, it looks like, if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll see Brett is kind of circling with his mouse. In the top left, you can filter it by the app if you want to, or you could just say, show me everything, and I can just respond top to bottom. Super nice. They've also integrated Zia/ChatGPT for suggesting, generative responses. Again, be careful with these, read them. Always read something that ChatGPT creates before you send it out. It is not perfect, so be aware of that. But still nice, right? Even if you can write something and have it zhuzh it up a little for you, it never hurts.
Yep.
So yeah,
You
kind
can
of nice
auto
update.
assign. It's kind of neat. You can auto assign depending on the social media network. You can auto assign those to people on your team.
Person. Oh, that's
Uh,
nice too. Yeah.
yeah. And you can view the history and interaction between the user and the brand. So some really nice changes. Zoho Social doesn't get talked about enough, but it's one of those applications that really, it's very, very powerful. A lot of people use Hootsuite to manage their social media, and that's a great application. But I have found Zoho Social to be just fantastic. So it's a very, very powerful application. Really well done. Really well written. So good job, Zoho Social team. All right, and moving on with the news here, you've now got Markdown support in Zoho Writer. So if you wish to format your documents using Markdown, you can do such. So what does that mean? So for example, instead of writing a word, highlighting it, hitting Control B, or before you type it, hitting Control B, typing the word, then hitting Control B to unbold, bold, unbold, unbold. You could do asterisk, asterisk before and after the word, or underscore, underscore before and after the word. So this is there are a lot of people that they grew up, I should say, on old word processors, because this goes way, way back. And you can basically turn that on inside of Zoho Writer now. And if you aren't familiar with Markdown, I kind of went to give you a little cheat sheet here. So these are the kind of commands you would use if you're watching us on YouTube. So like I said, before and after, asterisk, asterisk, for italics, before and after, single asterisk, or underscore, underscore. Just kind of some crazy ones that you can do, just stuff that's been around a very long time. I find them to be way more complicated than they're worth, right? The only ones I kind of like are, I find that the pound for heading and the double pound for heading 2, those are pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
So there are some that you look at and you go, yeah, I like this. But play with it. But you need to go in and you need to turn them on, and that's it. I have a feeling. I mean, Zoho Writer is one of the most full-featured, basically writer programs that are out there. What do you call them? They're not called writer, word processor programs on the market.
There it is.
And it really has everything. And so I guess this was just one minor missing feature from the 1980s that needed to be thrown back in.
Big thing here that you kind of mentioned before the show as well is, like, if you already had a doc from the past that you used Markdown on, now you could import that to Writer and it will work, right? We're think if you were migrating from Google Docs or something and they support Markdown, you move over and now everything's broken. So I would imagine a big use case for this would be people who are migrating, especially from older file management systems, because your documents would have just looked bizarre if Markdown support wasn't there. So I would imagine that's the big use case here.
Actually, I just realized why this is here, because I saw Markdown. If you are using ChatGPT, and at least, and you generate content and you click copy and you paste it, it pastes it in Markdown.
Got it. Yep. That's why they did it.
ChatGPT is using Markdown language. I ran into that the other day. I was copying and pasting. I'm like, oh, that's odd. I haven't seen that in forever. And it wasn't supported. And Markdown language is not supported on in Google Doc either. So
got it.
There you go. All right. Now I understand. Anyway, thank you. That's actually going to be particularly helpful now that I think about it. Yeah, that's the answer. Well, thank you, Zoho Writer team. Much appreciated. All right, and moving right along, you now have smarter communication and collaboration with Zoho Cliq. They never really kind of stop innovating on Cliq, do they, Tyler?
No, they're always working on it. Always working on Cliq. And yeah, this update comes with a couple kind of key things. It's a large update for the application. So they've added conference room meetings within the Cliq Rooms app. Seems like a separate app from Cliq, or is this part of Cliq itself? But this is essentially trying to give you a way to have like a hybrid meeting, right? So an in-person with some remote people in like a physical conference room. Pretty nice. Again, with some of these, we do put the asterisks, like AV quality, not going to be quite like Zoom level, right? But for a lot of people, it's going to be totally fine. But yeah, really cool. This is currently in beta, it looks like, but people can get access to it and start trying it out.
I'm wondering on here if you can just have a room, like you could have 4 or 5 rooms that you set up, right?
Join, leave, kind of like almost how we used to use that internal Discord with like the voice chat that you could just jump in, jump out,
Yeah, and so maybe you go in like to all our all employee setting and say, hey, anybody who wants to help me, I've got a quick problem. Anyone who wants to jump in and help me with blah blah blah, go to room 2, right?
Yeah.
And I can see that we definitely want to play with it. I can see some value here for this. I mean, yeah. And then they've got their full-fledged live virtual events, and they're saying that I love the way that you can host virtual live events for members of your organization at ease with the latest fully grown live events tool in Zoho Cliq. This is not a baby, Tyler. It's fully grown. It is at peak of adulthood right here. But again, very odd. It's basically doing a webinar, right?
Essentially, but only to people who you're connected with on Cliq. Because it's not going to create like a public
it actually says
URL,
members of your organization like even.
Yeah.
Right? So just members of your organization. So I guess if you wanted to do something internal like this, rather than using webinar and meeting, right? Sending out a webinar link in Zoho meeting, you would do it in here. I'm just, they say it's fully grown, which is interesting. So I kind of want to know what that means, right? I mean, does that mean that it's got all of the stuff from Backstage in here?
Yeah.
Because Backstage has got really cool virtual events that you can roll out dynamically. And is just so, oh, look at this. Look, Tyler. If you're watching us on YouTube, at the top, it says Backstage participants. So maybe they are integrating Backstage into Cliq, huh?
Could be. Yeah, it could be kind of like a Backstage for internal use, for if you need to hold like a webinar for your own company. Interesting. I mean, nice feature to have. I'm more interested in the rooms for how we might go about using it.
I am too. And then we're talking about this, but you've got e-discovery and data retention policy and audit logs. Enterprise-centered features are at the forefront of Cliq's latest developments, moving towards compliant with industry regulations and launching e-discovery, data retention, and audit logs. This enables enterprise to protect, monitor, and recover crucial organization data in case of investigation and trials. To which I ask myself, is this capturing conversations? The way I'm reading,
sure.
I don't know either.
Yeah. And I know that there are like laws coming about that place requirements on businesses to retain certain types of data in the case of some type of lawsuit, right? Like a lawsuit from a client, a lawsuit from a former employee, et cetera. You are supposed to be able to recover a lot of the data about their engagement with you. So it could be something along the lines of that. Like maybe large customers need this on a compliance basis. So they've started adding it. Looks like a big case would be for like files, making sure people can't delete files that have been transferred. But yeah, it's not clear like what all you can get out. So we'll have to poke around with that once it hits our account.
Yeah, I mean, if the dropdown's not showing you here, but if you're watching this on YouTube, it says file type. But if under this dropdown it says conversations, right, or chats, that could be pretty crazy. But I can see it. I mean, I don't know. I imagine cell phone companies have to retain all your SMS messages, right? Because it seems like every time there's a big trial, it's like, and you text.
Every text goes out. Yep. Every single text is public now.
Yep. So those are the highlights. Good stuff coming out of Cliq. So fantastic. And moving right along, Zoho Meeting gets meeting rooms. So you get meeting rooms over in Zoho Cliq, and now you got meeting rooms in Zoho Meeting. That's kind of a standard thing. If they're the way they usually are, they're kind of like breakouts, right? Like in Zoom and GoToMeeting, you're sitting there, you've got 8 people on a call, and you're like, okay, you 3 guys go over here and do this, right?
Yeah.
And then, you 3 go over here, and we're all going to come back in a half an hour, and the moderator's putting people in various rooms. But I don't know if that's it. This is saying regular online meetings.
Yeah, I think this is a lot of this stuff is conference room, right? They're trying to make it work with like a conference room, like a blended kind of hybrid meeting.
That's what it is.
Looks like that's it. I know there's been a big driver for Zoom. They're trying to get into the devices space so that they can make some money. But yeah, there's a lot of demand in like the virtual communication space to have this type of like hybrid configuration. So yeah, honestly, I think a nice target for them to get this stuff rolled out, because I'd imagine if every single big video conferencer is doing this, there's a reason, there is demand for it. So even though we would never do it, we don't have a conference room. We're fully remote. There is no room in the Zenatta organization, but I could imagine a lot of people liking this.
Yeah, this is actually the physical meeting rooms. Yep, there you go. All righty. I misread that one. All right, moving right along. It's not breakouts, which is kind of, I guess that's what I was thinking it was. Yeah. All right, and a new feature also in Zoho bookings has been added, which is in-person locations. And this is actually kind of like meeting rooms, like we were just talking about. So if you're watching us on YouTube, it's setting up an in-person location, and the examples they give are conference room 4 on the second floor of the East Wing, conference room 3 on the second floor of the West Wing. So these are physical locations. Again, I think that we're at the point in time where Zoho Bookings has got to decide what it wants to be, because it is 2 different applications. This is the type of application that you really use more for a salon, barbershop, but it's not the kind of application which most people think it is, which is, hey, I just want something that's Calendly, or I want a scheduling software. And
for my calendar.
For your particular calendar.
Rather than the calendar of an asset or the calendar of a location. Like I work in an engineering shop and I need to book the lathe for 3 hours this morning. Booking's perfect, right? It works great for that kind of thing. But I don't think, you keep saying the team doesn't understand calendars. And I'm getting to the point where I kind of agree with you, because a lot of the things they're doing in here, they're handled by the calendar, right? Yeah.
So all you really want from a scheduling point of view, from a Calendly, Acuity, just a booking software, which is click here to book a meeting with me, click here to book a meeting with me and Tyler, is for it to check the appropriate calendars, check availability, check the rules around availability, check the rules around that meeting, and then present to the person, here are the times you can meet with Brett. Here are the times.
But it's all referencing my Google Calendar.
It's does
not
nothing.
Syncing it. It's not syncing. Yeah.
Right. And after it makes that connection and allows the booking, it's done. If you move it on your calendar, it doesn't. Nothing gets kept on bookings. Bookings just needs to go in, make the connection, check it out, do it, and book those. And then I guess it can continually look at your calendar for you if you wanted to, but it's not necessary. I mean, to present that, right? It just needs to do it in real time. But again, this is this is kind of an odd one for me.
Yeah.
It just
great
takes
feature for the use case number 1, which is like booking a salon seat, booking a conference room, like great feature for that. But yeah, it has a bit of an identity crisis, it's not an extension for an existing calendar. It really works well for things that need their own calendar, wholly controlled by bookings.
Yep. And man, when that email goes out and you get the email, you don't want to have to click an add to calendar button. It just needs to properly look at the calendar and add it to the calendar. That's just what it needs. Whatever calendar is associated with that email, it needs to go ahead and put it there, and the person can accept it or not. But anyway, there you go. So I think we've said all we can say on that. High hopes. But, interestingly, on the Zoho bookings thing, we have moved a good chunk of our team to Zoho bookings because they really don't do multiple. They're not doing a lot of outside. There's a whole part of our team, mostly the development side, that really isn't, booking appointments with our clients or sending out meeting links or things like that. And they have very limited use for it. So we are going to have a good chunk of people, 10 people, 12 people or so, that are going to be using bookings starting last week. So we're going to, hopefully we can give some feedback and we'll see where it goes. All righty, moving right along. And wrapping up our news, Zoho Bookings also has put together a browser extension. So again, it's really
nice.
just...
I thought they had this already, honestly, but this is a really nice addition.
It is. But it's just showing you your calendar. So any calendar extension will give you the same thing. It's really just showing you your meetings and your appointments.
It's not giving us links. So I can't grab my links.
It does have one where you can go to booking page and you can grab a link. So that it does. So that's kind of nice. You can go ahead.
I do use the Calendly extension for that all the time. Shoot out a quick link to somebody.
Yep. So booking teams going crazy. So nice little browser. There are some nice features of that browser extension. All right, Tyler, that's going to wrap up the news. Let's head on over to our implementation of the week.
Alrighty, so implementation of the week for this week was actually built out by two developers, George and Alex here on the Zenatta team. And this was around using CRM and Creator for gathering data sets from customers. Consultant on this was the illustrious Landon, who you can see in our show Azaz every other week. So this implementation, our goal was to provide the client with an easy way to make a request for information from a client. Now, there's a lot of use cases for this, right? You could be a commercial real estate agent and you want a potential client to fill out data about their 10 portfolio properties. You could be an investment advisor and you want someone to fill out information about their 5 accounts, right? Whatever that need is, the core goal here was to just create a nice flow to request information about those specific types of records. So in this case, we're looking at gathering data for child accounts that are related to the primary account for a deal. So as the first step, what we did is set up a button on the CRM deal where when it is pressed, it will create a creator record for each child account associated to the primary account for that deal. So an example here is if we have those 5 investment accounts and we press this button, 5 creator forms will be created automatically, 1 for each of those accounts. Now, we do fill in those forms with as much data as we have on that particular record, but the whole goal here is to request more. So a decent amount of the fields on there will be empty. As a second step, the function will then organize those URLs into a data set, wrap up that data set in HTML and CSS, and then actually send it out directly to the customer for them to be able to go kind of one by one through the list and fill out all of the relevant information that our client needs. Now, when that information is submitted, of course, we're going to have it right back to the CRM, right? So that we'll have everything there. And the creator form is really just there as an initial entry point for that particular data before we write it to CRM to store it and use it on a long-term basis. So really, core thing here is just provides an easy way to request information about many different things from your client with one push of the button. So big shout out to Landon, as well as Alex and George. I mean, we keep finding more and more use cases for little small creator builds like this. Like this creator's not replacing everything that they do in this case, right? But it is just there to be able to provide a whole bunch of value and save them a lot of time.
What a cool implementation. Very, very nice. I mean, we do see, like you said, these small, tiny little creator applications. They can just fill this little niche, where they can do it.
Very useful little form, just a very useful little form that you can use.
It reminds me of, you've had these crazy things you've done with analytics where you're not really using it for reporting, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a bridge between two applications to, properly move data that you normally wouldn't move. So cool stuff. Good job, Landon, Alex, and George. And welcome aboard, George, again. And with that, guys, let's move over to our code share of the week. All righty, Greg is out. We've got not one, Tyler, but two.
There's the angel. We promised it was on its way.
There's Club Z. Yeah, so 1,000 subscribers, 1,000 members. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. We've got two code shares this week because we missed one last week. So if you might not have even noticed, we didn't mention it. We just skipped right over it. Greg was on vacation, and we kind of dropped the ball, and here we go. So we're giving you two. So first one's really cool. You can now update a Zoho inventory item image via API. And Tyler, you were saying the cool thing about this is it's kind of an undocumented, reversed engineered piece of code.
Yeah, there are many APIs that Zoho has, right, that get triggered when a user presses a button or, uploads a file, whatever. All of those are still just using APIs on the back end. This one in particular is just not documented anywhere. But the team did find documentation on how to delete that image. So they kind of just tried doing the opposite and sending an image to that API endpoint, and it worked. So now we've got this documented for you guys here over on Club Z. So feel free to take a look. This is very helpful in cases of migrations, is a big place where this is helpful because you cannot import those. No way to import product images. So if you set up like a database of an image and a product ID, run a schedule and have this add all those images over time.
Very nice. And then our second piece of code share is brought to us by the one and only Alex McClellan, who basically was in the last one. I have a feeling this is all for the same client and all tied together. So what Alex is doing here is taking data from the CRM, pushing it into Creator to basically auto-populate a drop-down value. Yes.
And then dynamically filter the drop-down value as well when the user starts to work it. So example here being, imagine you have a CRM workshop module where you have things called crafts and difficulty levels that are associated. Now within a registration form on Creator, if somebody picks difficulty level intermediate, it will only show workshops that are appropriate for that difficulty level. So just dynamically filtering user selections on the Creator form based on a third-party data set, right? So it's not like hard-coded validation rules. Like if our client goes in and adds a new workshop type, it'll just keep working, right? It's all just referential to the CRM data. So we really like setting up things like this where we're not hard-coding a bunch of logic into a piece of code, because then our client can never adjust it, never add anything to it without teaching themselves Deluge. So we really like this type of solution design that keeps things client-facing.
Very cool. Very, very, very cool. And Alex not only gave an extremely detailed 3-step breakdown with all of the code showing how the whole thing works here, but he also gave you a 8-minute video over in our tip of the week. Yeah, so here Alex is basically going through and giving you a complete step-by-step of everything that he just wrote and described. So really kind of taking you through this entire process. A lot of people ask for this. We do these little code shares. They want things a little more in-depth. Well, I don't think you can get more in-depth than this. So it's all the code, everything, how it all works, and gone through it, and a really nice job there.
Absolutely.
Alex.
Yeah, and a big shout out to Alex, who's just become an absolute beast in Creator over the couple of years he's been working with us. Just the skill set there is crazy nowadays with some of the things that the team is building. So a big shout out to Alex and really the whole team for the ongoing growth on what we're able to accomplish in our development.
And if you don't know, if you have not been to our YouTube channel, we find it hard to believe. But if you will go to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Zenatta, you will find all of our videos. And guess what, Tyler? Another angel got his wings.
Look at that. Double angel.
Double Angel. It's so intense. Remember that song? Double Rainbow.
So. Oh yeah, that was everything back when that came out.
Oh man. Yeah, 13,000 subscribers. Thank you so much, guys, for all of your support over on YouTube. We greatly appreciate it. And we will keep the videos coming as long as you guys keep on watching. Fantastic stuff. So thanks, Alex, for that great video. And so we kind of doing things out of order here. So we're going to wrap up the show by heading over and checking out what's new on Zenatta. All righty. And Tyler, I think I mentioned that John and I are doing a Zoho Books webinar next week.
It came up. Yeah, I think it came up.
Yeah. So we are continuing on our blogs about Zoho Books, and this one's on the benefits of reconciling your bank and credit card accounts in Zoho Books. And I will tell you, we cover this we're going to cover this in detail on the webinar because a lot has changed there. A lot has changed on setting this up. So nice little article on reconciliation and other things in Zoho Books. And if you haven't, if you check out our blog over at Zenatta.com, you will, we try to make these articles meaningful. And so, be sure to just head over to Zenatta.com/Zoho blog. You can check out all of our blogs. And on Zenatta.com is also where you will find our resources and our resource library, where we basically give you our hot take on every single application, as well as it's a quick and easy way to find all of the resources that we have done around each and every one of those applications. So you can kind of click into any of the apps, and all of our guides and all of our videos are kind of arranged and sorted for you there, and all the articles that we've ever done and all of that as well. So head over to Zenatta.com. We've got a resource library. You can read all the past Zen shows. You can check out all the past Zoho shows. You can keep up on it. It's all right there. All right, buddy. I guess with that, we're going to wrap it up. Another show is
good show this week. Busy week. And yeah, make sure everybody check out the newsletter if you're not subscribed to it already. There were a bunch of news stories that we just did not have time to include on this one. Things about mobile apps, tweaks, odds and ends that might be relevant for you. So always a good idea to get that delivered every Monday morning.
I want to say what version 1 API is gone, deprecated for good. I think there's something there, or some other stuff.
Put some PSAs, things like that in the newsletter as well.
PSAs you're gonna want to check out. So, all righty. Well, hopefully this Friday the 13th didn't jinx everybody and everything's fantastic. So with that, my friends, we're gonna wrap this show up. And if you would like to get a hold of Tyler or myself, please head over to the aforementioned Zenatta.com and click on Book a Meeting.
On the website is where you'll find complete episodes of the show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today. As I mentioned, if you want all that news delivered to your inbox every Monday morning, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. And last but not least, as always, we would appreciate if you would like and subscribe here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We'll see you next Friday.
Take care, everybody.